Hey guys, so what we're going to do today is a video update on Annitori QS Pro. If you watched my install video, you would know that I had wired the module straight to the battery, so this module is basically always on. It wouldn't kill the battery right away, but I guess if you let it sit for a few months, it could possibly cause a problem. Plus, really, why do you need something turned on when the bike's not being used? So as promised in my video, I'm going to show you how to wire it up, and this is for the 13ZX6R. Where I'm going to wire it up is probably going to be the same for 13 all the way up to the current 636, which today would be the 16. On a stock ZX6R, you would normally have a license plate light out here. So I'm going to use the power signal, or the power wire for the license plate light. I'd looked at all the schematics and everything to kind of see, you know, I want something that's going to come on when the key's on and stay on while the engine's running. But when I turn the key off, I want it to turn the module off as well. So the license plate light seemed to be the most easiest accessible power source for that. So, and I'll kind of walk through on what we need to do the job. Let's just go ahead and start jumping into it, and then I'm just going to cut through and edit the long, boring stuff out. So to begin with, you're going to need, obviously, if your bike's all together, you'll need to take the seat off, rear seat, and the cover right here. I'll have a link in my quick shift video, which I'll throw right here for you guys to go check that out for the install. And then that'll have a link back to this video where to wire the power up. If you're at this section already, so the easiest part would be, so all you'll have is this one here and this one here. And you'll have, I don't know what the name of these type of fasteners are, but they're kind of hard to see because they're nice and flush out so you guys can see it. But so where it sits on your bike will be right here. At least on this side, it's on the negative side. And it just sits right in here like this, so it's nice and hidden. To get it out, and I have it out for demonstration, you could take a little screwdriver. Either end you want something, you don't want to cram it all the way through, but just enough to push it down like that. It goes down about, I'd say 3 millimeters, maybe a 1/4 inch, somewhere in there. And that releases it, and then you can just kind of stick the screwdriver down in there and just kind of pop it out. There's like a clip that you want to pull this panel straight back, but don't pull it out away from the bike, just enough to kind of offset it. Once it's offset, you'll kind of hear it pop. You want to slide this panel forward like that. And you can see the reason you want to slide it forward is these tabs right here. Then here's the other tab back here that that you want to pull it out, but you don't want to obviously snap it off the bike. Your license plate wiring, I've already got this all kind of pulled apart, but all this stuff's usually in this rubber boot. Down in this boot, you're going to see, this is your brake light, right or left, I'm not sure on that, but they're color coded. You can't get these crossed up. I mean, you can, but they're color, so if you can see gray, you know to put the gray to the gray, the black to the black. And your license plate, this would also be in there, it'll look similar to that kind of connector right there. So when I say similar, I don't have a license plate. I cut it out when I first bought the bike and threw it in the trash. But it would come down this loom right here alongside this and then plug in here. So once you get it unplugged, just slide it out. And what we're going to be looking for, guys, is this red wire. This red wire is going to be hot when you turn your key on and while the bike is running as well. I'll show you the proper way. I'm going to solder my wire into this and then run a nice little jumper wire over here to this loom and remove this from the battery. The black with the yellow, if you're wondering, is ground. So the proper way to test that, if you're not sure, is to have a test light, chassis ground or the battery ground, and just touch the test light to the terminal. Don't cram it in there because you'll ruin the terminal. And then just turn the key on, and if the light lights up, fire the bike up, the light stays lit, you know you got yourself a good power source. So we'll go ahead and get into cutting and soldering. Alright guys, so there's two ways you can do this. You could peel some of this conduit up off the wiring itself to expose the wire and wrap the wire around the insulation and then solder it back and then, you know, put a piece of tape on it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this wire. I'm trying to figure out how much room I have in here. That's about right. And then I forgot my wire stripper. Like that. Alright, so now I got my wires stripped, guys. You can see right there, like that. And I'm going to put a third one in there. But there's something, the reason I'm going to do it the way I'm going to do it is because I'm going to use the shrink wrap, guys. And this shrink wrap, I'll have to dig around and I'll put it in the description on where you can find it. But when you heat the shrink wrap up, it's got a coating inside it that'll basically seal the wiring and keep any moisture out of it. Alright guys, so here's my jumper wire that I'm going to use. I'm basically going to solder it in here. Then it's going to run down here, and you know, red for power. You can use any color wire you want, just make sure you get something that's kind of small, because you don't really need a huge battery wire, just it only needs to carry a little bit of current. It'll run right down there and right to that. You can see I've already got it stripped. This is going to be the fun part. So run it through the backside. If you put your heat shrink on the other side, guys, you won't have to deal with this, but I do my wiring repairs a little different than most people. Especially, you know, people that don't do this on an everyday living, but you can see it's got a little collar and some special tools. I bought these from Mac, and what they do is they go in, collar goes in like that, line it up, slide your wires in on either side, and you just crimp it down. And this is basically like just redundant. The solder should hold this together. Crimp that guy down like that, and we'll heat that up and put solder in it. Alright guys, with your soldering iron, what you'll do is get it good and hot. Careful of other wires. So now that it's cooled off, what you'll want to do is, you can see my heat shrink kind of shrank a little, but go ahead and just slide it up there. So, and you can see it's all nice and covers all the little connections, so I don't have to worry about any power wires arcing out. So this is where you would need a heat gun or some sort of heat thing. So with my type of soldering iron, it's got an actual attachment that will allow heat to come out and no fire, so we don't set anything on fire. And then what this does is kind of shields the outside wires as well, the ones that you don't want to heat up. But yeah, you can see there's no fire or anything, just heat. Easy peasy. It's like that, guys. So now the wiring will go back into here, so we can go ahead and just plug all this stuff in. Gray to gray, black to black. You guys remember? Tail light. And I always wanted to wire on this side of the connection, guys, because the reason I'm doing it is if you ever go and do a track day or something and you need to unplug your tail lights or headlights or something like that, and you wired the power wire to your Annitori on the other side of the connection, if you unplug that to disable your light, you've effectively just disabled your quick shifter, which you're probably going to want to use at a racetrack. Okay, and go ahead and route it. Alright guys, so on this you can just cut the wire. You can see where the connection ends right here, but this covering goes all the way back. You don't need to cut it back here, so save yourself the wiring. If you're short on wiring, and just cut it way up there. All that, you can see that just slides right off. Dispose of it properly. Okay, with your wire stripped, you can see red to red, makes it easy. Always remember to take your shrink wrap and put it on first. Now, you could do a mechanical. If you don't have the tools like I've got, you could just wire these guys, twist them up, and then put the solder on, and then slide it over after. And just like that, guys, and then go ahead and add your solder to it. Alright, so another thing I always recommend when you're soldering is if you're doing small wire, use small solder, don't use the big honking stuff. There are differences in solder. There is electrical solder, and then there's solder for like copper pipe in your house. Don't use the stuff for your house because it's got like an acid in it that will actually cause corrosion in the wire and cause you problems down the road. If you want the thin stuff like I've got, you can usually find that stuff at like NAPA or an auto parts store. You can just look around, and 40 degrees outside takes a while for things to heat up, so solder's not sucking down. Alright, when you get it soldered, you just go ahead and put your shrink tube over and heat her up. Alright guys, so once you got it all wired up, before you assemble it, it would probably make sense to just test everything out. Make sure your quick shift is working. before you reassemble it, maybe you got a broken wire somewhere, or not a solder joint that didn't work out properly. As you can see, mine's working. With that, it's all done, guys. Just go ahead and finalize your wiring by adding some zip ties in there to hold things in place. As you can see, mine's all pretty much where I want it, so no need for zip ties. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this helps for you guys that are installing the power wire for your Annitori so you can turn it off and on. I'm Piston Slap. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for future how-tos. And, you know, summer's coming, guys, so ride safe. We'll catch you on the next video.